So what does a management accountant do? So a management accountant is involved in planning. So in here, the primary use of the management accountant is on the preparation and presentation of the budgets, because they are the ones who are responsible for quantifying qualitative aspects in an organization and making sure that spending is on the right item, and they are the ones who can present historical trends so that the organization can have the necessary projections. Reporting, this relates to both internal and external needs for information about past or future events and circumstances. As a management accountant, you are involved with furnishing reports necessary for both internal and external purposes. Controlling, in here, the management accountants are the ones responsible for interpreting variances and any other noted discrepancies or unusual occurrences with regards to budget versus actual performances. So they are the ones who interpret those, and they may also be the ones determining the responsible party to which reporting and further investigation might be raised upon. Resource management, this is in line with the planning of the organization. So in here, as part of budgeting, they are the ones who are involved with the allocation of resources across all members of the organization. So they are involved mainly in allocating costs or allocating funds across all departments, because they are the ones who are knowledgeable of the trends, and they are the ones who identify trends and possible requirements of each department. Also, as a result of them being involved with the recording and reporting of transactions, in here, the management accountant is also involved in the development of an information system, because it is necessary for the organization to infuse the function of recording and reporting across all departments of an organization in such a way that the duties of each member of the organization infuses in it a means for the transaction in monetary terms be recorded so that it shall be kept in the system. So that is one of the activities in which the management accountant is involved in developing an information system that transcends across the organization. Technological implementation, it is to be noted that it is not necessary for information systems to be automated. So one thing that a management accountant can do on that note is to make sure that recording and reporting of information within the organization can be as easy as possible, and it can be done on demand. So because remember that the focus of management accounting is timeliness rather than precision, so they should be able to provide reports. Again, although timeliness is the focus, it is better for the organization to have the reports as accurate as possible. Verification, in here, the management accountant should make sure that the information that they are collecting and providing to the organization are rather accurate and they can be verified accordingly. Administration, of course, as one of the leads in the organization, the management accountant has the responsibility of administering the specific department, the specific management accounting department. So operation process, we begin with identification. So in here, you identify the transaction that otherwise requires accounting attention, and then we quantify such, and then we collect those information, and then we analyze, which involves determination of the reasons for the reported activity and its relationship with other economic events and circumstances. Afterwards, we prepare and interpret. In here, we collect in the data, and then we process such so that they would become meaningful information that can be provided to the decision makers to help them in deciding for the business. And then communication. After preparing the reports, it is important to present them to those interested parties. Line and staff authority. What is the difference between line and staff authority? When we say that you have a line authority, this is the authority to command action or give orders to subordinate. This means that, for example, if you are a senior accountant, you have line authority over the junior accountant. A supervisor has a responsibility, line authority to the staff, which he or she handles. That is line authority. So it is authority as a result of your position, of your rank in the organization. So of course, someone is higher than the other. So a senior is higher than a junior, and so forth. What is staff authority? This is the authority to advise but not to command others, and it is exercised upwards. So how does this happen? This is the kind of authority that accountants have in the organization. Actually, it is when the management accountant can suggest actions to the executive board, to the president on possible courses of action, so possible solutions to problems that are encountered in the reports that the management accountant prepares. So in effect, the management accountant has staff authority in the organization. So may these two authorities be present in one person in an organization? Of course. A management accountant has that staff authority over the president or the chief executive officer of the organization, because they have the ability to advise or provide solution that the CEO might consider. While the management accountant also has line authority over the subordinates in the department. So the controller or the chief accountant has line authority over a senior accountant and the staff accountant, while the chief accountant has staff authority over the president and the CEO and the like. So when asked what kind of authority has an accountant have in an organization, then it is actually both line and staff authority. So what is functional authority? So the right to command action laterally or downward because of a specific function or specialty. So this one arises as a result of your discipline in an organization. So someone like an auditor, an internal auditor, can actually command someone from operations to provide reports and so on as a result of the internal auditor's function in an organization. Who is the Chief Financial Officer? This is the executive responsible for overseeing the financial operations of the organization. So everything that has to do with the finances of the organization, the Chief Financial Officer is the one on oversight of such. So this also involves treasury, this also involves recording of transactions. So in general, the Chief Financial Officer has a number of functions under his or her belt, and this involves controllership. What is controllership? this is the function of an accountant in an organization. So, providing financial information to managers and reports to shareholders and overseeing the overall operations of the accounting system. Treasury involves banking and short-term financing, investment, and management of cash. So generally, those who are involved in treasury are those involved in keeping cash and releasing it to the public and so on. Risk management includes managing the financial risk of interest rate and exchange rate changes and derivatives management. So under risk management, here we involve borrowings and the credit rating of the organization as well. That is also a function under the chief financial officer because it is monetary in nature. So taxation, the tax payment and planning of the organization is also under the chief financial officer. Internal auditing, at some extent, internal auditing is also something that can be under the chief financial officer administratively, but they should be functionally reporting to the board of directors. I believe we have already discussed this in our prior semester. So controllership, this is the highest, the controller is the highest management, the highest accounting related position that there is in an organization. Well, the chief financial officer can be an accountant, but for an organization, the highest accounting position that there is the controller. So this executive is the one responsible for management accounting and financial accounting. So the highest accounting officer in the organization. So what is control? It's the process by which management assures itself that the resources are procured and utilized according to plans in order to achieve the company's objectives. So it's not simply recording and reporting transactions. The controller is also the one on oversight, making sure that that records are properly prepared so that they can be released and reviewed by interested parties on a timely manner. So what does a controller need to have in order to become such? So the controller should have a strong foundation in accounting and finance with an understanding of accounting principles, understanding on the principles of planning, organizing, and control, because the management accountant, the controller, is actually involved in planning and control of the organization. So planning in such a way that they are involved in the budget and control on variances. They should be able to analyze variances. General understanding of the industry in which the company competes and the social, economic, and political forces involved. I had this client before who is an accountant but has a strong understanding of how their business works, even if it is engineering in nature, because it is a requirement for accountants actually to understand how their business operates, because they might encounter transactions that are peculiar or specific to the nature of the operations of the business that they also require to, that they must also record and quantify accordingly. So they should be knowledgeable enough to be able to do that. Thorough understanding of the company, including technology, product plus policies, objectives, history, organization, and environment. Actually, everyone who is involved in the transactions of the organization should be well aware on how they operate. Ability to communicate, because as a controller, as an executive, you should be the one who can communicate across your team and across other teams as well, specifically on your budget, on plans that affect other members of the organization. Ability to express ideas clearly in writing or in making informative presentations. This is actually an executive qualification already. and the ability to motivate others to achieve positive action and result. So for the code of conduct of management accountants, actually it is basic for accountants which handle confidential information to make sure that they are actually doing their duties in accordance with what the company needs, and that involves for the information that they acquire in the organization to be kept amongst themselves. So, on the first part of this code of conduct, it requires for us to develop competence. Of course, we should be able to undertake our duties and responsibilities with the ample amount of technical ability and knowledge on whatever we do. Confidentiality, we should not be disclosing information that we acquire from our job to outside parties, specifically if it involves something that is detrimental to the success or failure of the organization. Integrity, we should be someone who is believable, or who has a good image, so that the reports that we present to the interested parties or to the decision makers should have also that believable factor in them. Objectivity, we should not be biased against one party, because one thing that is certain for us in financial accounting is that there are certain scenarios in financial accounting where we require options, or when we need to select alternatives on presentation. Resolution of ethical conflict is the next part of the code of conduct. In here, it is discussed how a management accountant should face problems in an organization. But basically, I believe we have already tackled this on our previous session, on our previous semester rather, wherein what we do is when there is a conflict between two parties of similar level, we elevate it to the next highest level. And if it is between you and a superior, we elevate it to the next superior. So then and so on and so forth until we reach the top level. And if there is no one else who can be involved in the process of determining a resolution to the conflict, then we must go to a legal advisor rather, and seek an attorney to obtain legal advice.